Welcome to Family Focus. I'm Joyce Johnson, CEO of Johnson & Olson Communications and Casting. My guest today, we're going to talk about boating today, which I'm really excited about. Jim Rudolph, who is with us, as well as Brian Logan. And I want you, first of all, to tell us Akron Sail and Power Squadron. All right, so tell us the mission of this for those that are not familiar with what this organization actually does. So let's start there.
So our mission primarily is boating safety. So we provide boating safety courses to the public, and our mission is in our community is to promote boating safety throughout the community.
Are people just going nuts out there, Brian? What's going on? People in their boats are speeding by, they're drinking alcohol. Is it a wild free-for-all out there?
Well, let's hope not, but that's not legal. But
Yeah.
What we try and teach is courtesy on the water, as well as the rules of the road, and all the safety principles that you need so you can operate your boat with safety and get to where you're going.
What are some of the mistakes, maybe both of you can address this, that people are making when they get in their boat?
Well, last year there were 564 boating deaths in the United States.
Wow.
And primarily drowning was the major cause, and 87% of the drowning deaths were due to no life jacket. So the lack of a life jacket is the major cause for drowning deaths in boating accidents in the United States. So I would say that is number one. And a lot of it is lack of operator knowledge. So that's our mission.
Do they have to take a course to learn how to do this? Or are they just get in the boat, buy a boat and go out there?
Well, it depends. So if you were born after January 1st, 1982, you're required to go through a Ohio Boater Education course, which is just probably like the first day of driver's education in school. You know, it's not the details of stuff that you need to know to navigate, but it is things so that if you start your boat and drive away, you'll be safe. So things like life jackets, fueling, having fire extinguishers, the right proper equipment on your boat.
Now, as far as the mission and purpose, it is really to make people safer out there. So life jackets, you mentioned those. What are some other things that you need to have while you are boating?
You need to have a fire extinguisher of proper size. You need to have a sounding device so that you can alert other boaters. You need to have something to
anchor
right, so you can stop the boat.
There's certain information you need to have on your boat in order placards that you need to have that alert everybody to kind of the proper way to do things.
And that's all taught in our basic boating class. We call it America's Boating Class, ABC, and it's 8 hours of instruction on proper state regulations, like how do you label your boat with the license plate as the OH number on the bow of your boat, then what kind of equipment that you have to have on board, then all the safety practices like life jackets, how do you put out a fire, how do you fuel the boat, because gas is of course possibly exploding and catch fire. You've got to worry about all those aspects. And then once you get out on the water, what do you do when big waves come? How do you handle that kind of situation?
And when you come upon another boat, who has the right of way?
Right.
Okay, and depending on what direction they're coming, et cetera. It's not always the big boat has the right of way.
The bigger boat, right?
Right.
Yeah, I would imagine there are quite a few. Now, you mentioned these emergencies. So obviously, fire breaks out on the boat. You need to have that extinguisher.
Yes.
You need to have it working.
Yes.
And change it every year?
It's actually, I think, every 7 years. The fire extinguishers are usually good for 7 years, but you have to check them every year and make sure that when you shake it, that you can feel it shaking, that it's giving you a green on the dial, and so that it's working. But at the bottom of every fire extinguisher, it has the date. So it's good until that date, and then you need to replace it. And they'll check that when they inspect your boat.
You brought a video along. Let's see if we can roll on some of that. And I don't know if you want to comment.
This video is about the United States Power Squadron and our mission.
It is about the squadron and what they do and some of the different things. Because a lot of people might not be familiar with some of the different things that they do. So we'd like to show a little bit of that and the all the different things that you guys do, because I tell you what, I've gone out on stories where they're checking for safety out there, checking to make sure everybody's got their license, but you don't always know, first of all, that there are these great classes that you can take to learn to know what to do in an emergency. You know, I'm pretty sure when my Uncle Clyde was out there in his boat called the Viking, he had no clue what was going on. You know, they were just kind of cruising around and going around out there. So if that video is ready, we will go to that. If we got it together.
Sometimes like people today just join social networks and only play video games.
But what if there was a recreational activity that survived the test of time, or a membership group that lasted more than 100 years? Prepare yourself for an eye-opening revelation.
The activity is boating, and the United States Power Squadrons is the group. We are America's Boating Club. The boating lifestyle is right and simple. It fixes things. It triumphs overall. And United States Power Squadrons helps bring boating to life.
Learn boating skills. Engage with boating friends. Connect with the boating community. Welcome to the neighborhood of boaters, boating students, boating companions, and boating experts.
Squadron members learn through comprehensive programs that increase their boating knowledge and skills. They have more fun and engage with boating friends in diverse civic and social activities.
You'll gain access to boating education to help you become a more competent and safer boater. Wide-ranging courses and informative seminars will increase your skills and knowledge in boat operation and maintenance. Flexible scheduling and multiple learning options will enable you to advance your education through classroom instruction, online courses, and on-the-water skills training.
You will interact with a group of experienced boaters who know how to have fun at rendezvous, picnics, cruises, and parties. Local squadrons sponsor monthly dinner meetings with stimulating guest speakers on boating topics of special appeal to members. On-the-water activities range from draft-ups, to fishing tournaments, to sail regattas, to race patrols, to car-top paddle boat adventures, to overnight cruises and longer voyages. Boating together with fellow members opens up vistas for new levels of experience boaters rarely undertake on their own. Friendships deepen as memories of on-the-water activities grow.
Partner discounts range from 10 to 50% with many special offers that recoup the investment in membership many times over. Squadron members receive substantial savings on boat insurance and many other products and services offered by partners.
Best of all, there are no prerequisites for joining beyond an interest in boating. The cost of membership is lower than you would imagine. Discounts are also available for family memberships, and the rewards are much higher.
You don't even have to own a boat. You can join online, contact a squadron near you, or have someone call you. Come for the boating education and stay for the friends.
And there's the website there for people that want more information. Now, I also noticed that it not only just motorboats and out there, but sailing, power boats, and paddling.
Yes.
How does that play into what your services offer?
So we teach paddling classes. Paddling's a big sport in the United States.
Fastest growing segment.
And actually, of those boating fatalities we talked about, a third of them were from paddling last year.
Why?
So I think it's just operator inexperience and lack of life jackets, et cetera.
Life
They just
jacket's
don't
a
know.
big thing. You fall in the cold water and
Yes.
you only
There's-
have a minute or two to get control of your breathing before you gasp in the water and then you start to drown.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about that since it is an issue. If you do fall in the water, what are you supposed to do? Now, I had life-saving classes. I think I was 16 years old or something, well, before painting signs. You're supposed to take off your shoes, get light, correct? But what do you do when you fall in the water? I guess it depends
Well,
on which body of water you're in, perhaps.
Yeah, and if you're, especially if it's cold, one of the first things is you have to be careful that there's always a gasp reflux. So when you get into cold water, because it's cold, well, what that does is bring the water into your body. So you have to be very diligent when you're falling in and try to remember not to do that, because the cold water will cause that.
Yeah, they've done a lot of research on that, and there's what we call the 1-10-1 rule. When you fall in, like Jim says, you gasp, so you've got a minute to kind of get your breathing under control. Then you've got, when you fall into cold water, you've got 10 minutes to where you can kind of control your muscles and paddle and so on. And then after that, you've got an hour before hypothermia will kill you. So if you don't have a life jacket on, you've got to do all this stuff by yourself without the benefit of having a life jacket. And that's why the kayak fatalities are high, because when people fall in, they don't have a life jacket.
I can't imagine, because kayaking, so many things can happen, canoeing, and all of that. I can't imagine not. And I would hope that when they patrol that they look for that, but obviously they can't get everybody.
Right.
But that's a terrifying situation.
It is. And we do offer what we call seminars, and we're having 2 more this summer on, we call it Paddle Smart, and they're going to be in the Portage Lakes that talk about this, and then teach you how to get in the boat, get out of the boat, how to paddle, and all the safety things you need to know.
Yeah, it's 1 hour in the classroom and then 2 hours out on the water. Since 2012, we've given over 400 students this training, and so we get a lot of compliments on the instructors and the material and so on. So it's really helpful if you're thinking about kayaking. If you're thinking about buying one, we have several different kayaks that we let people use so they can see the features of each one.
Now, as far as the type of person that you're looking for to join your organization, since you kind of do membership, you want to address that?
Well, you don't have to have a boat to be a member. In fact, sometimes we have people who join because they're thinking about boating and they want to prepare for the boat that they're going to get later on. So we like that. We like people who like boating, who think of themselves as boat people. Like my wife and I used to say, if we're not at the dock or we're not on the water, we're not having fun, you know. So a lot of it has to do with enthusiasm for the sport itself. And then of course the social aspects, because you've got all the interests, combined interests together. You get to meet people with different kinds of boats, with different kinds of backgrounds, and discuss boating and the places you'd like to go. You know, for instance, we have people who've gone on the Great Loop, which is a loop leaving the Great Lakes, going down the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico and back up around the coast. And the training that we offer in classes helps them prepare for that kind of excursion.
As far as how you both got into boating and when you first went out, can you share? We'll start with you, Jim.
Oh my gosh.
When did you first
you a
start
story.
boating, and how did you get interested
Well, my
in
father owned a cottage on Lake Erie, so I grew up on Lake Erie. So I started boating at the age of 10. My first boat was an aluminum 10-foot John boat with a 2-horse motor. And of course I thought I knew everything, and I never forget my first foray behind the motor, and I told my dad I knew how to do it, and he said, okay. And the motor took off, and I hit the dock and went up on the dock, and my mother's screaming from the house, and he says, I'll take care of it. And then I knew I needed help, and he then got in and showed me how to do it. But at first, I was 10 years old.
Oh,
so,
at 10?
Yeah. So,
Well, it,
so
did,
it
it obviously didn't discourage you from boating.
No, I did end up taking the boating course because he was a past commander of the Power Squadron, and at 12 I took the boating course, and kind of I was an apprentice in the Power Squadron, and that's how I've been in ever since. Really.
It had to have helped you drive a car too, because you're already driving.
Probably did.
Oh, I'm sure it did, because you're already driving, you're steering, you know all that
Oh,
stuff?
I was driving a boat way before I was driving a car.
Yes.
So, yeah.
When did you get into boating? How?
Not until I started work, and I bought a used Sunfish type sailboat, just basically a board with a sail, and I didn't really know what I was doing. There was a fellow at work who owned a sailboat, a 17-foot sailboat that he raced on weekends, and so he asked me if I'd like to help him crew. So basically I'd go down there and help him in the races, and I got kind of familiar with the sailboat, and so in a few years I bought a small 14-foot sailboat of my own, raced it down in Portage Lake. So I understood how to make a sailboat go and everything, but it's not the same as navigating up on Lake Erie. So a few years later I bought a 26-foot sailboat, used sailboat at the boat show, and it was in Lorain, and I had to get it from Lorain down to Sandusky, where I had purchased dockage, And there was another guy at work who was an experienced sailor, so he came with me. And when he came to help me deliver the boat, he had a little bag full of like a handheld compass and binoculars. I had some charts, and he basically said, this is the kind of stuff that you need to boat safely on Lake Erie. So he helped me deliver the boat down to Sandusky, and that fall I took the boating class with the Power Squadron. And I've been taking classes ever since.
So once you know how to boat, you can pretty much go anywhere. Like you could go to Mexico. Are there differences that you need to be aware of, and where have some of your travels taken you?
I'm not a big traveler in the boat. I'm a Lake Erie boater, so I've gone to ports on Lake Erie, but we do have members who have done the Great Loop, as Brian talked about, which is really down the Mississippi, into the Gulf, into Florida, and then back up the East Coast, and all the way back into the Great Lakes. So we have members who do that frequently, also who go out to the Caribbean islands, etc. So I am myself
have just wanted to do that?
I haven't had the time to do it at this point. I like going on other boats to do that. It's quite an endeavor to be able to do that and have everything that you need, and I don't have the boat to do something like that.
Well, I've gone on excursions. I wasn't driving the boat, but I've gone on these excursions in the middle of the ocean, and I tell you what, the ocean is strong.
Yes.
The ocean is really, really strong.
Yes, and we actually have classes that help you with offshore navigation as well. So our classes kind of go from the gambit from what Brian talked about, our ABC course, which is for the public, and then we have 5 advanced grade classes for within our membership, but it can also be outside the membership if they want to come in and take it for a little higher cost. And then we have elective courses. So we start with how to plot a course all the way to celestial navigation, where you use a sextant to find your position based on a line of position based on the angle of a star to the horizon. So we go all the way to the gamut in terms of that. And then we also now have what we call boat operator certificate, which is leads up to offshore navigation, where you actually go out in your boat out of sight of land, and you're tested based on that.
Oh my God, failed that test. And where have some of your travels taken you?
Well, we used to go to
He's more of a
Canada quite a
traveler
bit.
than me.
You know, the customs process has changed. Now you have an app on your phone both to get into Canada and then to get back into the United States. I've sailed down on the Virgin Islands. We've gone through U.S. Virgin Islands versus the British Virgin Islands, so you've got customs issues there. We sailed out west in Puget Sound area and the San Juan Islands, and there when we sailed over to Victoria, which is a Canadian port, again we had to deal with customs going in there, and then coming back to the U.S. you had to deal with customs again. So classes like we offer, we have the people who've had those experiences and can tell you what to do, as well as we have a class called Cruise Planning, which talks about provisioning your boat, selecting the right kind of boat, provisioning it, and the rules that you have in the different countries.
Red sky at night, sailor's delight. When do you not go out there?
Well,
when do you not go out there in the water?
My wife asked that same question.
Probably.
So we do have a weather class. It's one of our elective
have
classes
to.
that teaches us how to read the sky and really basically do some basic forecasting.
What do we need to
me,
know?
it's the wind, and then first it's the wind for me, and then are there any storms? So you check the radar, check the forecast. NOAA has a weather radio that will 24 hours broadcast local forecast for marine radio for marine use. So they have the lake forecast, what the wave heights are going to be, what the wind and the wind speed and the wind direction is going to be, so that you can kind of plan around that. But it always helps to take a look out to the west and see if it's getting dark, and where the wind's coming from. Because I not only look at what it's going to be like when I go out, but also trying to get back into the dock. And if it's going to be too windy, nope, not going to do it. So.
And how about you? Do you look
at the same thing? So I can download the weather radio or weather radar and see if storms are coming. Even before that, like Jim said, NOAA has a weather forecast, and I would listen to that, and you'd hear about frontal systems coming from the west, and you'd hear, well, there's a thunderstorm in Detroit, and you say, well, I'm 80 miles away, and I know this thunderstorm travels about 30 to 35 miles an hour, so if I can get to where I need to go in 2 hours, I'll make that trip. Otherwise, I'll stay at home. The other thing is just knowing about the weather. the type of forecast in the air that you've got, like a hot, humid day, you have to worry about thunderstorms in the afternoon. So you think about, if I'm going today, I have to leave early enough to beat that, or else I'll just stay in the dock until the storms pass.
Have you been stuck in storms in your boat?
I would say so,
Unfortunately.
yes.
So what happened?
We made it back.
Yeah.
We just take it slow and keep a lookout. I had to come back from Leamington, Ontario once with a friend in 6 to 8 foot waves all the way back to the Ohio side. And the water and the wind and the rain, but we made it back. We just and it hit after we left. So you learn from those things, and you don't take chances. I mean, everybody kind of get it. We all have a story of when we got caught in something, but you learn from that.
Brian, you've been caught in storms?
Oh yeah. Well, and then I remember one weekend we were at Put-in-Bay, and it got so rough that the ferries weren't running. But it was Sunday. I wanted to get back to work on Monday, so we left, and we had a 26-foot sailboat, and we were basically sailing up the waves that were as long as our boat. And when we got around Kelly's Island, we saw the Kelly's Island ferry, and we could look down on the deck. We were up so high in the waves. So that's a day that I probably should have stayed at the dock.
Yeah.
You second guess, and storms come sometimes really quick, and it's not always in the forecast.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing
surprise you.
is, so when we finally got back into Sandusky, I called my boss and said, "Hey, we're not coming in tomorrow." So
Yeah,
I could
good
have just
idea.
stayed. I could have just stayed at Put-in-Bay and been.
But this is
the
also
same
part
outcome.
of our ABC course that we
Yes.
teach people, because people just don't think of that when they go out. Oh, it's sunny and nice now. Let's go.
Yeah, and it can
Yeah,
change
it
in
can
a
change
second.
in a second.
All right, so what else can you add that we haven't touched on that would be important to know, either about your organization or boating safety? We'll start with you, Jim.
As I said, we do offer a number of classes for everybody, and
Free?
Free.
Free classes.
They're free. We do have a cost for materials that we don't charge extra for. And if you're not a non-member, you can take the class. There is a fee for that, but generally it works out if you join, it's going to be cheaper for you to take these classes. So if I was going to say one thing here, I'd say take a look at our ABC course, take the class, and look at the organization, because you can make not only a lot of friends, but you can learn so much else that's not even in the classes from people who've done it all.
And ask all the questions. Again, people that are experienced, all the questions that you would possibly can think of.
And if you have a tiny boat, that's okay. If you have no boat, if you have a very large boat, we have members that have large boats that can really help you. We have a program called Jump Start, where if you buy a boat and you just don't know how to run it, we'll come out and help you learn how to dock it on the water and how to run it. So that's also something that we offer.
That is a must. You've got to know how to park the boat.
Right.
You got to. How about you? What would you like to add that we haven't
Well, I
touched
think
on,
that
Brian?
just the knowledge of boating in general. So we have meetings every month, and generally we have a program that involves something to do with boating, like a place they've been, or sometimes we bring in guest speakers to talk about aspects of boating and boat design. We generally have a couple dinner meetings a year where we have experts talk about things like the Great Lakes, different shipwrecks, and so on. We have a Facebook page that has information about all our activities, as well as safety items. So there might be something from NOAA about a boat that was crashed or something like that. We can put that on there so our members can see that. We also have a website. You saw the website for the national organization. Akron has a website, www.akronpowersquadron.com, and that also has a number of items about events coming up and boating safety.
And you don't have to be a member to take the classes.
That's
correct.
That's correct.
So you can take those classes, and I have seen people that they don't hitch their boat correctly.
We teach that.
All of this stuff. Now, and I do one more thing: the cost of having a boat. Now you hear all the jokes, right?
Yeah, what a boat
Bring out
stands
another,
for. Break out another
1,000.
Yeah.
Does it have to be this expensive venture?
No,
to
it doesn't.
do
I mean,
to have a
paddling is
boat?
very inexpensive. You know, a kayak is very
Right,
inexpensive if you just get a basic kayak.
Right.
Or even just a small runabout is not out of the reach of the normal normal person. So don't think of these 45, we all have all these 45-foot yachts. We have fishermen, we have paddlers, we have a lot of people with 20-foot runabouts that are 20 years old. You know, there's a big used boat market out there. You can get in it pretty inexpensively.
Okay.
My opinion.
What's the average life of a boat? Do they
Oh my
last?
gosh.
If you take care of it, is it going to last you a long time?
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah, I would say, 20, 25 years
Oh, okay.
plus.
Or longer.
If you maintain it, you can
Yes.
go longer than that. We have members that have 40-year-old boats that are still in fine condition. They maintain them.
40 years
Oh,
old.
yeah. We
Oh
were just
my
talking
gosh.
about one, right?
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they still take it to our events.
All right. So what is the name of your boats?
My boat's name is Escape Pod.
Escape Pod.
Yeah.
What is the name of your boat?
Island Girl.
Island Girl. I
Yeah.
love
Named
it.
after my wife. Yeah.
Excellent. I love. Yeah, because you got to have a good name for your boat.
Yeah.
I'm afraid we're running out of time. But if anyone has any questions, I want to first of all thank you both for coming on the show, talking about boating safety. And you can email me at sunaroundtown@aol.com. I'm Joyce Johnson, and we've been running that website so you can get more information on these classes.
Yep.
It has been a pleasure having you on the show. And
Thanks,
I hope
Joyce.
that you each have a wonderful boating season for everyone that's watching. And I want to thank you for spending your time with us and joining us here on Family Focus. It has been a pleasure. And again, we have to have you back sometime.
Absolutely. There's so
You'll
much
have to
more to
come out
tell.
and
So
boat
much
with
more
us.
to do.
Yep.
It'd be a pleasure. And thank you for joining us.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.